Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I'm feeling much better because I found out that I don't need to be at the psych emergencies. For a month, I only need to be there for a few days, which will be at the very beginning of April. So I'm very positive about that. I also started understanding certain things about my sexuality. Which I have thought about a lot but never come to any conclusions. It came from when I was talking to one of the members of this channel, a Schumann, and he was talking about how he tends to have to speak literally with me. And I realized, like, oh yeah, that's kind of actually how explains a lot of my life. I need people to speak literally to me, which is one of the reasons why I am interested in finding out if I have autism. At first I wasn't, but now I am, because more and more things start making sense. And even though I'm an intuitive type in the MBTI, I do appreciate concrete communication, and I have a hard time sometimes figuring out what is the truth, what is genuine, what is a joke. Sometimes I don't know. And I get confused about all those things because a lot of neurotypical people, or people who, are normal, understand what is a joke and what isn't. Well, for me, I have a weird sense of humor, apparently, and so I don't always know. And anyway, that got me into, okay, so I'm oblivious about all of things. And that has led to misunderstandings and miscommunications and fallouts with different people. And people think that I'm an asshole because I'm oblivious. And yes, being oblivious doesn't exclude me from being an asshole, because sometimes I am. Even though my intentions are good, it still hurts the other person, which hurts me because I really care about these people that I have accidentally hurt because of my obliviousness. I try my best to figure out what is wrong and how I can fix it, but sometimes it just, well, the damage is done, you know? And I don't want to use autism as an excuse for my behavior, but it does explain why I have a hard time figuring things out which should be assumed obvious to other people. So I sometimes end up in situations that, well, where I would have been helped by not being as confused. Anyway, I started thinking, a lot of autistic people are queer, and a lot of autistic people are asexual and aromantic, like me. And I actually made a Venn diagram about this. I don't know if you can see. Basically, there's the queer Venn diagram, there's the autism, there's the asexual, which is a part of the queer, and then there's me at the intersection, me and many others. And then I made another Venn diagram, which is just fun, which is just confusion, 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 confusion. Okay. I am confusion quite a lot. And a lot of things that people assume are normal in terms of relationships is just very strange to me. And I feel like I haven't gotten the handbook of life, which I think a lot of INFPs in the MBTI will relate to, and a lot of autistic people will relate to, and a lot of queer people will actually relate to. And being asexual, first of all, I would just want to say that we're not taking resources from gay people when we say that we are queer. People who are gay, who are bi, who are trans, non-binary, all sorts of things. we are not the norm. We should stick together rather than like fight each other. And no, aromantic and asexual people are not just straight people who are trying to be special, because they're not straight. A straight person is a person who has attraction to straight people of the opposite sex, or bisexual people of the opposite sex, and of the opposite gender. Basically, asexuals are not just they're not just straight people with glitter on top. It's an actual sexuality. And we are not children. We are not late bloomers. We are not frigid robotic machines. We are human just like the rest of people. Humanity is. Somehow, a lot of people who are not asexual, not aromantic, think that romantic attraction is the pinnacle of humanity, the pinnacle of joy, of the beauty of the human race. Okay, and it's like the purpose of life. People who don't have that are lonely and sad and have no life and are really missing out and aren't really human. And that's just not true. I would still say that I'm human, even though I haven't experienced romantic attraction. I haven't been in a relationship ever. I have dated a few times, but not that much, and I didn't really like it. Yeah, I'm a 28-year-old virgin, if the pervert people on the internet want to know. And I'm not missing it. The more, and people will say like, oh no, it's because you are shy and you have social anxiety. Yes, I have social anxiety. But that's against the point. The more I grow, the more mature I am, the more I see the consequences of certain things, the less I want to partake in these things. And the more sure I am of my asexual orientation. It's not like I become less sure with time. I think that this is the way that I am. And maybe I am like this for a reason. And it's not so that, the reason isn't so that a person can convert me to becoming a romantic sexual person. The reason is so that I can show people that there are other ways to live their life, as opposed to the way that society tells others to live their life. There are other people in the world just like me who are also aromantic asexual and who deserve to hear that they're not alone. I don't like people kissing me. I don't like the idea of sex for myself. I don't like the sensory whole thing about it. It feels like it sounds a little bit disgusting. I am a doctor, so I've seen a lot of people's private parts. I do not find it appetizing at all. I am glad that I get to put on gloves and to do it all clinically, because I don't really, I'm just interested in figuring out if there's a disease or not. I'm not trying to deal with the person's private parts more than I need to. And that's enough for me. I don't need to do that kind of thing with somebody who I have a close, loving relationship with. I don't feel the need for having another person to feel pleasure. Okay, I can do it well on my own. And yeah, I just hated these kinds of things when I was growing up, because we live in a world that is we're constantly fed that romantic attraction, romantic love is the highest form of love, and obviously it includes sex as part of that relationship. And that is the only way, that is the highest on the pyramid of hierarchy of love. That is the top. And like family and friends and neighbors and coworkers, they're just like, at the bottom, all of them, But you can experience so many different kinds of love. Would you ever try to rank how much you love your mother or like a parent as opposed to how you love your child? Would you say that you love your child more than your parent? Unless you have like a bad relationship with your parents. But I'm saying if you have a good relationship with your parents and you have a good relationship with your kids, would you say that love is exactly the same? You would still be the same person even if like you didn't have kids. Like, well, maybe that would transform you, but I mean, you're not more of a human just because you have children that you love. You're just as much of a human before you had children as after. You're just as much of a human whether you have more friends or less friends, whether you enjoy being around your coworkers or not. I don't know. I think that a lot of this thing about seeing romantic partners as number one is because we see love as a kind of like a moral goodness, that we are morally better, that we have achieved something with romantic love, that we have a high body count or whatever, or that we are like more of an adult if we are in a marriage because we have committed ourselves to one person. If we have been in stable relationships, we see that is a sign that we are stable adults, mature people, people with rich lives. When like, since when, like, why would you wanting to be with somebody who you can kiss on the lips makes you a better human, And so that's where my obliviousness and naivety comes in. I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And it seems like everybody else gets it. And there's a lot of beautiful music about romantic love, and I appreciate it. I like music that is about romantic love and that is about sex and such. But it's not because I relate. Or maybe I'll like relate it to some other experience that I've had. I just like the beat, or, but so much of our films, of our media, all sorts of things are linked to this, and it does make you feel kind of isolated as an asexual person. But it's not because you miss being in a relationship that you're alone. It's because you feel alienated from the rest of society that expects people and humans to be a certain way. And if you're not, then you're considered less than nothing, not human, not even an animal, because animals have sex. You're just like a fungus, an asexual fungus, which, haha, the joke is there, But yeah, it's kind of like stamp collecting. Like, I know that this is a ridiculous comparison, but it's as if you grow up to find out that everybody is into stamp collecting and not you. And you just don't see the appeal of stamp collecting for some reason. But everybody else does. And you see other people doing the stamp collecting and it doesn't affect you. You're just like fine with them having their stamp collection. But it's never something that will make you happy. And you know that. You don't need to buy a stamp collection to know that the stamp collection won't make you happy. Maybe you'll test it, but probably it's not going to help you. But yes, it makes you feel isolated from everybody else if everybody else is doing it. So yeah, it is difficult. At the same time, I want people to know that we are not taking resources from queer people as asexual or aromantic people. Because we just want people to know that we exist. You know, we're here, we're queer, we won't disappear. Like that is the motto, and apparently people forget that asexual people exist. I've always been confused when I was growing up about all sorts of jokes. I took things literally. I hated the game Spin the Bottle. I would always leave when that would happen. I would also hate Truth or Dare because I hated dares as a person with social anxiety. And I hated Truth because the question would always be, who do you have a crush on? And I'd be like, no one. And nobody would believe me. And then people would tease me. And then they would say, no, you have to do a dare then next time because your truth wasn't good enough, you know? I also did not like Never Have I Ever once I started drinking. I do not like drinking, but I do like seeing people getting more and more drunk, people that I know, because it's kind of funny. But I was not interested at all in like who was having sex where, and it was just so confusing to find out that people that I was talking to in my life were having sex. Like, it's kind of like finding out that the person that you've been good friends with all this time has been a stamp collector, and you're like, what? You know, it's like, that's strange. I didn't see that in you, you know? And so I would be very confused about those kinds of things. I mean, everything is a construct, you know, gender is a construct, romance is a construct, and I was just like confused about constructs. I think that's a little bit of an autism thing. Like, we don't really get what is the social convention because it didn't come to us naturally. So that's why people say that you're a late bloomer, because a lot of people figured things out like that much earlier than you do. But yeah, I have always been oblivious about things, about jokes, and so I've always been also oblivious about the fact that other people have romantic love. And so then I started thinking like, maybe I have romantic love. Then I figured out that's the girl I was falling in love with in high school. I wasn't actually falling in love with her. What I liked was the feel of her hoodie. Okay, I know that this is ridiculous, but I agonized over wanting to hug her because I wanted to feel that hoodie. I wasn't actually interested in entering a relationship with her. I did not want to kiss her or do any other romantic things with her. She could have just given me her hoodie and I would have been happy and not wanted to go into a relationship with her. And if that doesn't sound autistic, yeah. So all this time I've been thinking like, oh, maybe I'm gay. And sure, I do find girls more pretty than boys. But in general, I just don't feel like entering any kind of romantic or physical sexual relationship with a person of any gender. And so that's why maybe at first I thought I was bi. And this is a common experience among asexual people, that they first think that they're bi, then they think, oh, well, no, actually, I'm just interested in the opposite gender. Then they realize that they're lesbian. And then they realize that they're ace. So that's where I am. Just because I do not experience romantic love or sexual or attraction doesn't mean that I'm not human. I don't need to experience every kind of emotion in order to be human. I might have said differently in my last asexual video, where I thought I wanted to feel every kind of feeling that there is to feel. But I realized, like, you know, I don't need to experience what it is like to be divorced to know that it would suck, and that I don't want to experience that feeling of being divorced. I don't need to experience that in order to live a full life. I don't need that. I don't need to have a child in order to experience familial love or love for a person to care of, because I can take care of other people who are adults or children that are not my own. I was thinking, like, men never need to find out how it is to be pregnant. They never need to find out how it is to, actually give birth to a child. We don't say that they're less human because of that, because there are certain things that they cannot feel. Because you don't need to experience every single thing that there is to experience in order to have a fulfilled life. You don't need to have gone through all of the different feelings. That's why we have stories, so that we can experience vicariously through other people, because you cannot fit all of the things that you could experience in one life. So I might enjoy seeing a kind of romantic relationship on TV, even though I probably don't enjoy it as much as people who actually have things to relate to in that. But that doesn't make me less asexual, because I don't want it for myself. I would hate having to share a bed with another person. Like, morning breath. And also, I hog all of the pillows, and I like having space when I sleep. And I have a hard time coordinating with another person if I'm going to fall asleep. I hate sleeping over at other people's houses because I just can't coordinate my sleep pattern with theirs. And then I don't like waking up too early or too late compared to the other person, making too much noise in the morning. There are a lot of things that go into that. And there are also, I don't want to kiss somebody on the lips. And everything is just a construct, you know? There are, in certain cultures, it's normal to kiss your family members on the lips. In certain time periods, it was also a thing that platonic friends would do with each other. But that's not how the world is. I just read that Tolkien really wanted Frodo and Sam to, he was homophobic basically, because he lived during World War I. So even though it seems like a very gay relationship that these two hobbits have, Sam is basically holding his hand and sleeping together, and they basically declare their love for each other. It is pretty gay, viewed through our 21st century lens. But actually Tolkien just wanted to show how soldiers were in war during World War I. And I guess that they were pretty gay. But these were straight men in war. And the life or death situation makes things more intense, you know. So he was trying to portray a platonic bond. But culturally, like how we see it now, seems pretty gay. And that is just because everything is a social construct. These rituals that we have with each other, the way that we speak to each other, the way that we kiss certain people but not others, all of that is a social construct. I grew up in France. People kiss each other on the cheek all the time. And I still hate it. But I do it because I want to maintain my friendships. But I'd rather not, you know? So there are certain things where I didn't get the memo. And it's not an excuse for me to hurt the relationships that I have, because I really want people to understand the care and affection that I have for them. But I'm not interested in romantic relationships, and I'm not in sexual relationships at all. I'm an adult. I'm not a child. There are many things that I cannot do, really, that adults are supposedly able to do. But it doesn't really matter, because I don't want those things, you know? And certain things are hard for everybody. Like getting a loan for a house, like that's not something that people generally know how to do without anybody teaching them how to do it. There are all sorts of things that like we assume that adults can do when it's actually really hard for everybody. And also there are certain things that we assume everybody can do, but some people are disabled by being neurodivergent, or disabled physically or mentally. And yeah, so I do want to take up one example of a joke or like something that I experienced as a child that was quite confusing. Well, a lot of it had to do with people claiming that boys had crushes on me when it wasn't actually true. Another one was we had school elections, and people, and so you had one vote, and you could vote for a person in the class to be class president. And well, two people had done an actual campaign to be class president, or they said pretty early on that they wanted to do it. Then there was a third person who kind of joined in late and was popular, and then there was me, and I didn't join, but I got 3 votes from the class. And other people, they got 0 votes. They weren't even their name wasn't even put on the board. And my name was put on the board just because people wanted to humiliate me. They, they wanted me to be embarrassed, because they didn't want me to be class president. They just voted for me. They wasted their vote on making fun of me. And I was oblivious. I was like, when I figured out what was going on, I was mad. But at first I was like, is it one of my friends who has voted for me? That's really nice. Then I was like, wait, they couldn't have voted for me because they knew that I wasn't in the race. And then I would be like confused. And then I realized, well, somebody must have done that because they want to be in solidarity with me. I went positive, but then I realized oh, no, it must have been my bullies who are bullying me. And that's when I realized that's why I have all these systems put in place to understand the world around me. And to manage the world around me. I've learned to be distrustful of people for a reason, unfortunately. It's not just like I was born like this. I was born confused without knowing the rules, and then people have taken advantage of me because of that. And so that's why I feel the need to figure out my sexuality through these like micro label things, because I need to know like what, so that I can have some clarity in this confusing picture of the world. And so I've explained to some of you guys in the comments how my system for social media is kind of rigid and convoluted and specific, but that's because I've been hurt in the past and I've had to construct such a system. Very autistic thing to do, unfortunately. Very oppressed minority thing to do. I mean, I am white, I am a woman, so I am not an oppressed person. But I am queer, and I am probably autistic. And things haven't been that easy for me. Even though it might seem like it, you know, from the outside. I live in a state of like, I cannot reveal my true self around most people in real life. Because then people would take even more advantage of me. And so that's why I've had to construct that system. It's kind of a meme at this point that autistic people need a system for everything. Like, there's the meme of like, oh, I don't have sensory problems. I can wear socks. You see, I have a system. And it's like, well, if you have a system in the first place in order to put on socks, then that doesn't really make you neurotypical, does it? It means it means that you needed to construct a system because the problem was such a big deal in your life that you had to construct a system. So, you know, it's the sensory issues. And in this case, it's the social issues that I've been joked about so often. I've been bullied so often. My trust has been taken for granted too often. And now I need to protect myself in like pretty silly ways, which I try to be open-minded about stuff. But sometimes I just need to put my foot down because otherwise I know that the cycle will repeat itself. So that's why I realized like, okay, I cannot date because I cannot navigate the situation in a safe enough way. Where like, because it takes me such a long time to figure out like, what do I actually feel about this person? Do I actually feel romantic attraction? And it takes more energy than it would give in the end. And it's sad to say because, you know, I don't want to limit myself. But at the same time, like, is it worth going through all of that pain, all of that confusion, and possible, like, risk for me getting hurt? Like, I know the saying of, it's better to have loved and lost than to never loved at all. But there is also a risk to dating, especially if you're a girl. And I'm not asexual just because of social anxiety or because of anxiety. It's because I generally don't feel that kind of attraction. So why would I get into something that I am not sure about? You know, I need to be able to give my full consent to something in order for me to feel comfortable in these situations. And I cannot give full consent if I am confused about the social situation. If I am, if I don't really want to be with this person in a romantic sense. Like, why am I even going on a date with somebody that I'm not attracted to? Like, in that case, well, it's just like a friend date, a platonic date, but that's not what the other person is assuming, you know? We need to both be on the same page in order for it to be a good experience. So yeah, there's all of that. And so like what everybody else thinks is like super, like the highest rank of humanity there is, to me seems like stamp collecting. Okay, nothing against stamp collectors. I'm just giving you like kind of a frame of reference. And so when people were talking about dating in school, I was confused, and people were joking about me and I did not know, and they were doing it in my face and I didn't know. And I don't want to feel like I did in middle school. Okay, I'm an adult now. I know the consequences to my actions. I know that I don't want to end up in a relationship and break up, because that sucks. And I don't want to be in a relationship that is romantic and sexual. It doesn't mean that I fear intimacy, because I do love intimacy between close friends. I love my friends so much. I would do anything for them. I have so much care and affection for them. And saying that that isn't worth anything compared to your romantic attraction to somebody that, well, like that you don't have that much affection for, that feels cheap, you know. Like we should like try to detach ourselves from what everybody's experience is, because it's not everybody's experience. There's probably one person, it's enough with one person watching this video that is on the aroace spectrum for this video to be worth it. I care about that person very much, whoever that person is, because I know that it isn't easy. And it isn't easy. It's not that it's because of that we secretly want a romantic or sexual relationship. It's because we are alienated from the rest of the world, who thinks that there's a problem with us and that we're broken. When actually we are not broken. We just see things differently. It's like saying that gay people are broken. They aren't. They can have just as fulfilling relationships as someone who is straight. And an asexual person might have also just as fulfilling relationship as someone who's straight. An aromantic person too. It's just that the flavor of the relationship is different. There might be less kissing or less cuddling, or less sharing commitments that are usually considered romantic commitments. So yeah, so this was kind of a slope, like it was kind of from going from obliviousness, what that means for the romantic and sexual world. I'm not saying that asexual people are oblivious and confused, but often that's where we figure out our sexuality, is by figuring out that, oh, so what everybody else assumes is correct is not what we assume is correct. There's a cognitive dissonance there, and what we assume is not what other people assume, and we can feel alienated because everybody else thinks that we are robots for not having emotions, apparently, when that's not true. We do have emotions. We have a lot of emotions. Some of us do, at least. A lot of us do. And we care so much for the love and like the different kinds of relationships that we have in our life. But it doesn't need to be romantic, and it doesn't need to be sexual. And it won't happen just by magic. Okay? I feel more and more secure in the fact that I am asexual. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who don't understand that. I have now come out to a lot of people as gay, which I guess that I'll have to like rectify that. But I'm not in a rush because, well, this is kind of my thing, you know? I can be asexual and be alright with that. And I'm single and I'm not lonely because of that. What I am lonely about is that I wish that there were less misunderstandings between me and other people. I do wish that because, and that has nothing to do with asexuality actually, it has more to do with autism. And that's where my disability comes in. Asexuality is not a disability. It's not a mental health condition. It's not even a neurodevelopmental condition. But autism is, and these things often go together, but sometimes not. So there's that. Okay, now I'll stop the video before it gets too long.